All rise. We will obey. The International Criminal Court is now in session. L'Audience de la Cour Pénale International est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. Court officer, the case, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The situation in the Republic of Kenya, in the case of the prosecutor against William Samuel Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, ICC 0109-0111. We are in open session.
Thank you very much. Appearances?
Morning, Your Honours. The prosecution remains the same.
Good morning, Your Honours. For the victims, our team remains the same. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honours. Mr. Sang's team remains the same.
Mr. President, Your Honours, good morning. Mr. Ruto's team remains the same.
Thank you very much. And we're all happy to notice that the video link with Nairobi is restored. And court officer in Nairobi, you can hear us well.
Good morning, Mr. President. Yes, we can hear you and see you very well.
Thank you very much. I see you have a witness in there, somebody else.
Yes, Mr. President, witness P516, together with his counsel, is present in the transmission room.
Thank you very much. Witness 516, thank you very much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. You have responded as you are required to do by summons. You were summoned to appear and give testimony in this case. We thank you for coming and for obeying the summons issued to you. The thing we need to tell you is that your testimony will not start today, will not start immediately, because of a number of matters. First of all, as a practical matter, there are two other witnesses ahead of you, and we will finish those witnesses first. And secondly, and very, very importantly, there are some procedures that the court undertakes, the registry of the court undertakes, and also possibly the prosecutor as well, or not just the prosecutor, the party that invited a witness to come. There are some things they will need to do with the witness first, or may need to do with the witness first, before the witness can start testifying. First of all, what the registry must do is something we call a familiarization process. There's an independent, neutral unit of the court called the Victims and Witnesses Unit. They are not part of the prosecution team, and they're not part of the defense team. They're an independent unit that helps the court move these proceedings along from the perspective of witnesses and victims. They will need to meet with you and familiarize you with the processes of the court and how things work in the courtroom. As well, they will also, part of that familiarization process would be to take you through the statement or statements, if you've given more than one statement, that you may have given to either party who called you in the case. In this case, it would be the prosecutor. The Victims and Witnesses Unit will need to take you through that statement or those statements as part of the familiarization process before we can begin. And then when all that is done, they will also need to examine you about your health, psychology, and all that. So there's a number of assessments they may need to make, and then they will report back to the court before we can begin taking your testimony. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All right. So once all that is done, the Victims and Witnesses Unit, we call them VWU for short, will make a report and tell us that we're ready to start hearing the witness. So in this case, they will need to do the same with you. They're there with you. I understand some of their officers are with you. So once we're done in a few minutes, they will take over and then give you the briefings and when you need to meet with them and all that. So it is important that you attend the meetings they schedule with you so that all these processes can be done and we can get to your testimony without too much delay after that. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll go into private session.
We're in an open session, Mr. President.
Thank you. Prosecutor,
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. King Katwa,
None, Your Honor.
the document comes in as the next in the Ruto defense exhibits.
The confidential document KEN D09 0038 0006 will bear the number EVD T D09 00227.
Thank you.
Mr. President, the next item we would seek to admit into evidence is KEN-D09-0038-0030. It's also a photograph in tab 6 of the same type as the one that has just been admitted.
No objection, Your Honor.
None, Your Honor.
Admitted as the next in the Ruto defense exhibit.
The confidential document KEN D09 0038 0030 will bear the number EVD T D09 00228.
Mr. President, the next document we would seek to tender is KEN-D09-0038-0052, also contained in tab 6. It's also a photograph of Honorable Ruto.
Steinberg,
No objection.
No objection.
admitted as the next Ruto exhibit.
The confidential document KEN D09 0038 0052 will bear the number EVD T D09 00229.
Mr. President, the next document we would seek to admit is KEN D09-0038-0498. This is contained in tab 8A. This is a logbook of location B. Mr. President, we believe that this document speaks to the issues that the witness has talked about, and the witness seems to appreciate some of the entries in that logbook because he is familiar with the location and familiar with the personalities and some of the issues recorded therein. As such, we believe that it addresses a matter in contention between the parties, it has sufficient indicia of reliability. We ask that it be admitted in evidence. If there is difficulty in so doing, we ask that as a minimum it be marked for identification. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Steinberg?
Thank you, Your Honours. The prosecution does object to this being admitted into evidence at this stage. The witness has never seen this document before. He purported to identify what it was on the basis of what's written in there, but there is no indication of authenticity of this book, and we submit that it should be proved in the ordinary fashion. We have no objection to it be granted an MFI number. Only the persons that entered into this book can speak as to the truth of its contents.
Mr. President, perhaps there is something there in the response given by my learned friends that I should address. The document is replete with stamps by the school authenticating it, and there is also a second part of it which being duly certified by the principal. So for that reason, we believe the issue of authentication has been adequately addressed.
For the record, Mr. President, we do not object to it being exhibited.
The document will be marked for identification.
As Your Honor pleases.
The confidential document KEN D0900380498 will bear the number MFI T D09000230.
Mr. President, the next document we would seek to be marked for identification is KEN-D09-0038-0685. It is contained in tab B of your Honor's binder or bundle. It is also the second part of the logbook.
I mean tab 8B.
8B, Mr. President.
Yes. Document will be marked for identification.
The confidential document KEN D0900380685 will bear the number MFI T D09000231.
Mr. President, we seek to mark for identification document KEN-D09-0038-0277. It is the visitor's book contained in tab 9 of the bundle.
It will be marked for identification.
The confidential document KEN D09-0038-0277 will bear the number MFI T D09-00232.
Mr. President, we seek to admit into evidence document KEN-D09-0038-0017, also contained in tab 6, is a photograph of Honorable Ruto.
No objection, Your Honour.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Will be admitted as the next Ruto defense exhibit.
The confidential document KEN D09-0038-0017 will bear the number EVD T D09-00233.
Mr. President, the next item we would seek to admit into evidence is KEN-D09-0038-0024, also contained in tab 6, the photograph of Honorable William Ruto.
Your Honours, I've no objection. I may indicate I've no objection to any of the photographs from this tab being admitted.
No objection, Your Honor.
That is, photographs that have been put to the witness.
Admitted as the next in the Ruto defense exhibits.
The confidential document KEN-D09-0038-0024 will bear the number EVD T D09-00234.
Mr. President, the next item is KEN-D09-0038-0080, contained in tab 11. Mr. President, this is minutes of a joint BOG and PTA meeting. We ask that it be marked for identification.
Mr. Steinberg?
No objection to MFI, Your Honours.
No objection on our part.
Marked for identification.
The confidential document KEN-D09-0038-0080 will bear the number MFI T D09-00235.
Mr. President, we ask that document KEN-D09-0038-0419 be admitted into evidence. This is a news report. It's a video, Mr. President. It is a news report of
do we have a transcript of it?
Yes, the transcript would come after it.
All right.
The transcript would be in tab 21, Mr. President. This is the video in which Honorable Ruto was advocating for adopting the delegate system in determining the presidential flag bearer for the ODM. We ask that the video be admitted into evidence.
Your Honor, on our part, we have no objection.
Your Honours, only to observe that I don't think the witness was shown the whole report. The prosecution disputes that it was the same occasion that is depicted by the photograph, but other than that, we have no objection to the admission of the video.
The document will be admitted as the next Ruto defense exhibit.
The public document KEN-D09-0038-0419 will bear the number EVD T D09-00236.
Mr. President, just to indicate for the record that we would address the observation of my learned friend opposite during submissions at the relevant time.
Indeed, that was the point. Now, there's a translation?
Yes,
the
Mr.
video.
President. The translation is contained in KEN-D09-0038-00. Excuse me, Mr. President, let me just confirm this. 0420 in tab 21. We ask that it also be admitted into evidence, Mr. President.
Mr. Steinberg?
No objection, Your Honours, but the normal caveat, we don't admit the correctness of the translation at this stage.
No objection, Your Honor.
Admitted as the next in the Ruto defense exhibits.
The public document KEN D0900380420 will bear the number EVD T D0900237.
Mr. President, the next item we would seek to admit into evidence is KEN-D09-0038-0072, contained in tab 8, is a photograph of Honorable William Ruto.
We have no objection, Your Honor.
In tab what?
I beg your pardon, Mr. President. Tab 7.
No objection, Your Honor.
Admitted as the next Ruto defense exhibit.
The confidential document KEN D09-0038-0072 will bear the number EVD T D0900238.
Mr. President, we ask that document KEN-0038-0427 contained in tab 16. It's a BOG, minutes of a BOG meeting. We ask that it be marked for identification.
It will be so marked.
The confidential document KEN D09-0038-0427 will bear the number MFI T D09-00239.
And the last item, Mr. President, is KEN-D09-0038-0418, contained in tab 22. This is a Nation newspaper of 20 November 2007. We ask that it be admitted into evidence, Mr. President.
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
Admitted as the next Ruto defense exhibit.
Document, the public document KEN D09-0038-0418 will bear the number EVD T D09-00240.
Mr. President, that was the last item I'm seeking to admit.
Thank you. Mr. Farley, we're still waiting for the witness to be brought back in so you may continue your cross-examination. Have you thought about time? I know we have lost time, and that's not your fault, nor anyone's indeed.
Indeed.
But still.
Like I promised, Mr. President, I'll endeavor to really reduce the time we intended to use. I just wish to note that the prosecution had about 10 sessions. I would definitely not take that much time, but perhaps what I asked for should be given, a day and a half, and then I'd be done. But I'll do my utmost to finish earlier. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, it's not always a good argument to say because somebody had X amount of time, one should be given the same. But if you need to use the time, it may be that the nature of the testimony may require that the cross-examiner takes more time in cross-examination or less time in cross-examination as the examiner-in-chief. But just as far as you're, keen and alive to the need to do it with speed and efficiency, that would be good enough.
I'm well guided, Mr. President.
And Mr. President, with your leave, if we have time, one matter that may be of help the parties. Your Honour, we sent an email to the Chamber yesterday regarding the next court session, and effectively it was an application of all parties. It was initiated by the Ruto and Sang defence teams and supported by the prosecution. Your Honour, I'm not asking for a decision on that now, but I note that we have at least 2 more witnesses lined up for this session, and it seems to me it would be a good idea to try to finish those. The other matter I just raised, I don't know if it's possible at all, is the possibility of extending the current session to finish the current witnesses, and I'll say no more than that. It's just it would be quite good to finish the current ones that we've prepared for before we move on to others. And one possibility, of course, is bringing them back, any witnesses that are not finished, the next session. The other possibility, depending upon other court, the needs of other court cases in this courtroom, is to extend the session, and so we finish this block of witnesses in an extended session, and I just raised that as a possibility.
Of course, we're not going to resolve the matter now, but Mrs. Steinberg, do you have any observations so far on the matter?
Your Honours, I can confirm that my learned friends discussed with me the scheduling of the next session, and we're quite happy to go along with the defence on that request. On the extension, I will need to consult and see what other obligations we might have. Normally, because we don't know when the next session is going to be, any plans that need to be made for leave and the such will be done shortly after the termination of the first session. But I can't speak to that immediately. My preference would probably be not to extend if we could help it, unless it's just for 1 or 2 days.
Mr. President, I confirm that we discussed the issue of the next session. The issue of extending this session was not discussed. Speaking for myself, I would have rather that it is not extended, but probably we'll deal with it when it is firmed up. Yes. Thank you.
We're getting an incoming call, so we will take up the matter of scheduling in due course, so we'll not deal with that today. Well, let's do this. Let's take our morning break now and come back earlier. And we will come back in 20 past 11. Court will rise.
All rise. We will